Hello, everyone. This is Tijen Genco, and you are tuned into Coaching with Mastery and Elegance with Tijen Genco, an original podcast from Genco Coaching, where we speak about spiritual awakening concepts, and the concepts are helpful for the coach's advancement. And this is a special series that I've been doing. It's our 4th edition in Masterful Coaching, and I am delighted to have another masterful coach here today with me, Akke-Jeanne Klerk. And welcome, Akke-Jeanne. How are you?
Yeah, thank you. It's good to be here and nice to have this talk with you about coaching. It's something that we both really like. So, yeah, look forward to this discussion.
Absolutely. It's wonderful to have you here. And today we will be looking into more at the holistic aspects in coaching. And with Akke-Jeanne is going to share us with her approach. And with that said, Akke-Jeanne, what would you like our audience to know about you?
Yeah, that's a good question, which is always a complicated one to answer because what can be relevant? I think to understand where I come from, it is important to know that I read Carl Jung at age 21 and was so deeply taken by it that I ran with it. I learned about it. I got my master's, and then I co-founded with my brother the Jung platform. So that was really sharing our love for Jungian psychology with others. Meanwhile, I started coaching, and of course, at one point, I combined the two of them. So that is me professionally, and probably the accent jumps out as well. That's the Dutch accent. I live in Amsterdam. Yeah, so I think that's a good start.
Absolutely. And it's
Yeah.
also a beautiful segue into what we're going to talk about today, which fits into your specialty, right? So maybe you can talk about whether you want to start there within the Jungian approach or anywhere else that you wish to share that what is mastery and masterful coaching mean to you?
Yeah, yeah. So let's start more general. I think that is important. In general, what is important in coaching, I think, is that we respect the autonomy of our clients. That the person coming in is the one that knows their own path. So we work them with them from a place of equality, that we share what we're thinking, we share something of our knowledge, our intuitions, our observations, and we share it with the client and check with them. Does this somehow make sense to you? Is this helpful? Does this land with you? But we don't do it from a point of view like, I know what's good for you. I think this is how what you need to do. But that we really have a conversation and show up fully as we can. And then the next step, I think, is where also the Jungian coaching comes in. The clients share something, we share our observations or our thoughts about what the client is sharing. And then the next question is, how does this sit with the client? How does the soul or psyche respond to what's going on? So it's no longer the coach that is leading, but it's really tuning in into the soul speaking of our client. And I think the moment that we include the soul, that's really important for mastery, because otherwise it gets skilled level, focused on a goal, and to make sure that it fits with someone's personality and spiritual development. We want to know where is the soul standing in this entire story. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's beautiful. So what I'm hearing there, the partnership is a
yeah,
key, which absolutely,
yeah,
certainly, that's the main distinction most of the time that between the therapy or
yeah,
coaching, right?
yeah,
And then in your partnership, it's almost three-way partnership, right? The,
I
the
like that.
coach, the ego representation, and the soul representation, right? That's what I'm hearing in yours.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I'm keen on is the transcendence into new level of awakening. And there is that also partnership in the soul there as well. And so in your approach, how do you, and my segue into that is to partnering with the client to support them in coming them into a new level of awareness so that the transcendence occurs for organic solutioning. So in your partnership with the client's ego and bridging between the ego and the soul, how do you establish that partnership?
Yeah. So good question and a very important one. So I guess one of the things that is important according to me is that we don't come to it as we're going to fix something. I think it's also a general coaching rule: fix or don't coach the problem, coach the person. So it's really important that we don't focus too much on the person, but check on what is the person dealing with and why is it there. And rather than making the symptom go away as soon as possible, what the client usually wants or what our egos want, we see something, it's an obstacle, we want it removed. That we take a little bit of time and sit with it. Why is it here? How is the experience to be with this obstacle? What if the psyche put it on your path for a reason? Not so much to haunt you or to tell you that something's gone wrong, but maybe it has a purpose. And can we learn about the symptom and maybe the purpose that's in the symptom? When we explore it from all sides, of course, we can do that on a conscious level during the day. But next, we want to see what's happening in the nighttime dream. Is the dream mainly saying something about what's happening? Is it mainly making some kind of diagnosis or proposing a certain solution that our rational mind doesn't have access to? So, in bridging that function, as you said it, I think dreams, including dreams and the imagination, are essential to get another perspective, to have the process. It's almost like the alchemy that there's the vessel, and we need to put in another agent, or we need to put in another chemical, and that chemical is usually something like imagination, and see what's happening. So not so much that we find our answers, but really that the soul comes up with an answer, like maybe this is an answer.
That's lovely, because when we think about holistic approach to coaching, I often think about the somatic, the neurologic, and other aspects. But what we are talking now is make me think about there is also inclusivity in the holistic coaching from the psyche perspective, because what you're sharing is that psyche has different aspects and the languages which it communicates, right? The metaphors, the imagination, the dream work, the whatever is happening in our reality, and the perception, and what do we do with that perception. So that's lovely. What else would you like to share about that in your approach and mastery in coaching?
Well, while you were talking, I thought, well, let me illustrate this with an example. For example, if someone has a decision to make in their life, they have two lovers, and they don't know what to do. They might be in a relationship, and there's another partner, and they're torn between this choice. Of course, from the ego perspective, we would like it to go away as soon as possible, make a decision and move on. It's almost also what society expects from us, to have one partner. From a soul perspective, it might be interesting to see, hey, why is the soul presenting you with two partners? And if we look at it symbolically, like if it were a dream, if you have a dream in which you're with a man and there's another man or there's another partner, you would not wake up with, about this dream, well, I need to make a decision this morning because there's not really a decision to make.
Yeah.
It was a dream. Somehow, when it happens in real life, we feel we need to make a decision. So, from a Jungian perspective, it's interesting to look at life more symbolically. What if the current situation is a dream? How would I approach it? And then we would probably bring more curiosity to it. Why is the symptom here? How does it feel to have the symptom? Or like you were saying, what is the bodily experience of having this symptom on my path? Um, Taking it as a suggestion from the psyche, might there be a clue that there are different value systems in my psyche, or there are different types of love? So the two lovers would invite you to learn more about a topic in relationship to yourself rather than fixing it straight away. And of course, it's super difficult because there's also tension and guilt and societal expectations. So we can not only take the soul perspective, but it brings it more clear to the focus when we take a symbolic approach to what if we don't fix it straight away and take the gold out of the experience. Again, the alchemical lesson, like what is can we extract the gold of this situation?
That's lovely, right? It's in a way that appreciative approach to whatever is being presented. It's an opportunity of, and in the Jungian language, individuation process, right? What we came here to do and how is that being developed in front of our very being, right? I'm not even going to say eyes because all of the perceptual methods are included in here. So what else would you like to speak about the individuation process and how it applies into your mastery in coaching?
Yeah. So I like, by the way, that you talk about your whole being, because I think being aware that I am more than just I. There's maybe more to me that I'm unaware of, which includes the unconscious. And in the Jungian idea, there's this idea that we all come into the world, and like the acorn will turn into an oak tree, the process of development. It's the same for human beings. All the potential is already there, and then life will help us grow and develop in our own way. But it's not so much that we can choose our path. It's almost like it's already chosen us. And it's for us to discover who we are. And of course, there's co-creation. It's not that you just have to do whatever the psyche demands from you or what you think that the psyche demands. But it's really about finding out your own nature. So that is an essential element of the individuation. Who am I, and where to go? And when you start paying attention to your emotional responses during the day, to what triggers you or what resonates, what excites you when you feel most alive, those are all small clues of our psyche pointing us in a direction where to go. So in the Jungian approach, most people love writing down their dreams to find the clues and the hints. But even if you don't have or can't remember your dreams, just paying attention to when your body feels like there's something important here. Your body will resonate and will recognize, or when you feel a very strong reaction to it, it's interesting to look at it. What is going on right now? So we all have to, I don't know, to follow the hints in our life that our psyche is providing us on a daily basis, where to go. And there's a joy in that we are being guided. and we follow the direction. But to really walk your own path, you don't know where it's going. You can maybe see a little bit of the next path that is ahead of you, but really seeing where it goes, usually that's not how a path unfolds.
Mm.
Yet there might be an image that is really appealing or a fantasy, like um, you have a fantasy as a young person that you want a family and children, and that's really important. And it's always in the back of your mind, and it's almost pulling you in that direction to go there. And then life happens, and then something else comes up as a fantasy, and you might have not realized that image, but something else becomes more important. So it's not about getting exactly what your fantasy or your imagination brings to you, but you move toward it. And when it loses its imagination or its luminosity, you look around and you see, where am I being guided or pulled towards now?
Mm.
So it's almost like a fairy tale, like you follow the breadcrumbs or you follow the stones where to go.
Mm. Beautiful, right? That's I think as then the coaches, we support the clients in that flexibility, right? And
Yes.
there is an approach that they suggest that our future brings us into itself. So therefore, we have to go through certain traumatic experiences to be prepared for where we're going. And there's that idea too, and which makes me think about another aspect of in the Jungian approach, that in general, people think about the shadow work is very heavy, shadow work to be not wanting to be touched upon and so on, which I find that I tell people I don't like the word comfort zone, because the comfort zone is not comfortable, is it? I use the language of known zone, right?
Yeah.
In known zone, there is no growth.
Yeah.
We need to get to the unknown. So in a way, then the mastery of the coaches and their expression becomes their ability to go into the unknown, go into the dark, go into the wherever it needs to go in their partnership to bring back the gift and the gem. So what would you like to say about that?
Yeah, I think you're pointing to something really important, being able to face the unknown, but also when you're presenting with a client. Of course, when you have experience, you've heard certain stories, so you might immediately have an idea about a client presenting a topic that you feel like, I think I know what's going on, or I might have an idea what would work for you. But to really realize I've got no clue what's good for you in your life and what your soul is wanting you to do in life. So knowing your own limitations as a coach, that you don't know, even though sometimes you feel very strongly that you do know, that is so important. So being aware that there's so much you don't know is an important for you as a coaching practitioner. And then also having the skills to be in the unknown and know what happens the moment that you get there. What happens in your body? Does it contract? Do you have certain belief systems to what kind of expectations do you bring about life when you don't know where it's going? Do you have expectations? Life will turn out for me, or do you have expectations or beliefs? Life is a struggle. With your set of beliefs, you might be co-creating reality, how it comes to you. So it's always important to know what are your beliefs. Do you expect good things to happen, or do you expect something bad to happen? And here, of course, is not a quick fix. Well, no. I'll expect the best. If that is not something you genuinely feel. And now I forgot where I was going.
We were talking about the shadow work and its
Yeah.
importance to mastery. And partnering with the client easily to go into the unknown.
Yeah, so that unknown is indeed very important because the unknown parts of our personality might co-create our path. In Jungian psychology, we also talk about complexes and that it might be a complex that gets triggered that is sort of leading the way. And a complex that everyone knows or heard of is an inferiority complex. If somehow you look at the world through the perspective of being inferior, that sort of sets the path differently than when you feel you're superior. And both, of course, are extremes. And the psyche will try to balance it. That you have both, and you can experience both, and there's not a pull in either direction to the extreme. But again, there I have a part of shadow work that's more difficult. The complexes are usually more difficult. But shadow work doesn't have to be difficult. Like that's why what I like that you just pointed out. Shadow work can also be the unrealized talents that we have that are untouched or powers that we are unfamiliar with, are in the unknown, to speak also in your language, that are in the unknown, and to connect with those powers and to develop a conscious relationship from your ego to that unknown part that you slowly get to know a little bit. We cannot never fully realize our shadow, but learn about it a little bit. Hey, there we show up in life embracing parts of our own power and embracing parts of our talents. And of course, then life will be different. Not necessarily always easier, but more fulfilling and more that you feel like this is my path.
Yeah. My tagline is achieving the highest potential. And I often tell people that's not about the stuff that you do, but the potentiality exists in your seed, in your soul and the spirit waiting to be tapped into. And that isn't going to be in the known because you already achieved that potential. Nothing else left in there, right? We got to go explore what's not there. And often when I'm asked about, what by the new coaches, right? I don't know what my brand is, my niche is, and they try to go into these standard marketing things. It doesn't fit. So I say to them, whatever the things brought you down to your knees is your niche. And I would love to speak to you about that, right? Because you will talk about that. Your heartbreaks brought you into the mastery, and you've even written a book about that, right? So how would you like to describe that, your experiences, and how you potentialized your highest potential through them into where you are today?
Yeah. So here, I love what you're saying. That to start with, what you've got to offer is the gift to the world is often related to your wounding. So knowing that as a coach is really important because, and it also it heals partly of your own wounding. The moment that you share your learnings for the greater good. Then the suffering that you've done has not just served you on an individual level, but somehow you're sharing it with the collective. So on an individual level, there's an element of healing in that. And yes, the heartbreaks have been haunting me on my path.
They're
To the point
partnering with you, Akke-Jeanne.
and I try to run, and perhaps they caught up with me again, and of course, at one point in time, I wondered why does this keep happening to me? And I came initially from the let's fix this approach. It's wrong. They shouldn't be there. It's a sign that I'm off. while on the way, I learned, well, what if heartbreak is my teacher about life? If I say, well, the experiences are there on my path and they have been there and they should be there because they've taught me so much about others, about life, about myself, the way I relate to life, and of course, about the topic of love. That so that is one of the things that changed over time. But that element of going through the wounding, learning about what is standing in between me and good connections with others, because I noticed that one time I'm committing to partners who are not really committed to me. And of course, from a child's perspective, but also the adult ego, first the thought is, well, there must be something wrong with me. That's why they don't stay. But then after a while, when you really reflect on it, what is being reflected here? So I'm committing to something or someone who isn't committing to me. So it makes me wonder, am I truly committed to myself? I ask someone else to truly commit, but am I really committed to myself? And when I ask myself that question, of course, I could see things, well, I don't always take my feelings into account. I can do better there. And if you read the world as sort of a mythical mirror, or to say it in Jungian terms, when you see shadow material being projected around you and you recognize, well, this is partly the outer reality, but it's also being colored about myself. Let me learn about myself, because that probably will give me a little bit like almost like a wall, a peek over it, like what else is there. So I've learned that my wounding, what came across as wounding, I learned to relate differently, that it's not my wounding, it's my teacher. And it's a teacher that I didn't recognize as a teacher. But I've also learned that when you come to a point, and of course, first heartbreak hurts a lot and it's severe pain in the body and the psyche immensely. After a while, it's interesting to look at yourself and what's going on, and to see what if this heartbreak was supposed to be on my path, and not to haunt me or to punish me because it was wrong, but it's been guiding me, and I don't know where, but it's guiding me. So there again, I come with that that idea in Jungian psychology that we all have our potential to be realized. Sometimes people talk about the self with capital letter S, that is the guide inside. So what if the guide inside is putting those heartbreaks on my path? And I can learn from it, if only I don't say, hey, they shouldn't be there. If I have a judgment of them, they shouldn't be there, then it gets more problematic. But what if it's there for a reason? So yes, I've read a book about it with steps in Dutch, I shared it with clients, and I do feel that this is my niche, and it's not a niche that I chose. I mean, in my 20s, my idea wasn't like, oh, it would be really nice if I'm the heartbreak expert. No. I don't know if I'm an expert, but you get the idea. Like that was never what I chose to become. Yet life is showing me this is who you are.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm laughing. It's not because that was hard for you, but I know that from my traumatic experiences, if I was given a choice at this in this consciousness level, I would not choose them. But some consciousness level I did.
Yeah.
And then I often say to people, like, if you were to do, for in your case, it would have been probably you signed up to do a PhD in love research.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
therefore, that includes fruitful, easy loving. It includes difficulty. It includes the lack of it, all of it, right? When one
Yeah.
does a research to be expert on that. That's lovely. So then, Akke-Jeanne, anything else in your history brought you back into the today's level of mastery and masterful coaching that you wish to share with our audience?
Well, probably there's a lot. Well, there is, of course, what the thing that every coaching practitioner will recognize as well, that there are themes in your own personal life that are playing up, and then suddenly you see clients with similar topics.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because you're working on it and you're increasing awareness that you see the awareness raising in the other. So when I combine that with the idea of masterful coaching, I think it's good for any coach to have coaching, receive coaching once in a while, or to receive therapy to continue, because it also is a humbling process that, oh, I might feel like it's really clear for you, but then I'm totally blind on my own issues. So that puts me humble, and that being humble, I think, is really key.
Yeah.
And it's also key for masterful coaching. If you start thinking too much of yourself, yeah, you start thinking that you know it better, and you lose that connection of equality and of partnership. Then suddenly you become the expert, and the other one becomes,
Yeah.
I don't know, the student, and then you're not coaching anymore. So probably there's all so many small things, bigger things in my own personal life that I see reflected back in my clients. Sometimes my clients come up with something, and then I feel like, hey, there's something in me that recognizes itself in that story. What is that revealing about me? So probably every day there's continuing education.
Yeah. Absolutely. Thank you for bringing that up. I often say to my students, it's like whatever you haven't worked on or you've been working on, the universe is so masterful to bringing them into form of a client to you.
Yeah.
Because I do. I mean, you don't know how many days I have a meditation yoga studio upstairs. I do my work, I come down, and here it is. Whatever I discovered, the client is presenting in a problem. And so if I haven't done it, then I think our resilience is not going to be there to stay present,
Yeah.
because they are bringing forward that is still inflamed in us. Then when I see people are rushing into some kind of solution, not listening anymore, the client, it's so in order for us to develop resilience, which you're bringing forward, we need to do our work.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And let me jump in there, because you're also pointing to something really important, is that amount of discernment when you're in the unknown,
Yeah.
that it's really important to get closer to a topic, and also to get closer and more intimate with the thing that you're struggling with, to discern what is really going on for the coaching practitioner with the client. What is mine, what is yours, and sometimes it's not clear. Most of the time, it's not clear. We think we know, but it's good to know, to realize in each time, like, oh, you're struggling with this theme, so am I. So, what is different? What is unique to your experience of this situation? What you're unique with your set of beliefs? How is your soul responding to it? And we might come at the same topic from similar positions, but then our soul has a different solution about how to go for it. So that discernment is very important. So with your practice, you're
Yeah.
almost ensuring that and that discernment that you look at, hey, what's mine in all of this?
Absolutely. And that's, I'm glad you bring that forward, because we need to do our work, but we also need to keep remembering that the client is not us, right? They have a different solutioning. We may understand and appreciate and
Yeah,
discern and develop resilience to stay put, stay present, but
yeah,
then also appreciate their uniqueness in their solutioning.
yeah,
And
totally.
yeah, and I there is a store, spiritual store in the next town of me, and their name is Solutions, but they spell it as Solutions. So the
Ah,
solutioning, I think,
yeah.
is very fit to your approach in the coaching, right?
Love I love that, and that totally falls together, I think, with the idea that I like to hear a response from the dream, or like, oh, what is the solution?
Exactly, exactly. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
So, if there was a any way, I think you already did that, right? There are sometimes we learn obviously from other masters, and then we come to a place that, oh, well, I need to find my path here because it no longer fits me. So, what if anything? I think that's where you developed the Jungian coaching approach. But what else is there, if you like to share about unique to you, and where you felt the need to deviate from a masters that supported your growth?
Yeah. So of course I love the Jungian ideas, and there's I think as many versions of Jung as there are people, because we all say, oh, we love Jungian psychology, and then everyone has his own spin on what they've read. So I think throughout the years I also liked the post-Jungians like James Hillman and Thomas More, who embrace the Jungian ideas, but already make some small changes there as well. So I like going into that direction, but I also appreciate the non-dual approach to life and Eastern philosophies. And sometimes these philosophical ideas are somewhat at odds with each other, or it's trying to find a connection. So that's really where I feel like, oh, if you really want to find your unique blend, there is indeed a moment you can take a lot from masters, but then there's also what is your unique blend? Because if we all read the same books, we probably all have our own ideas still about it. So when I always say to people that are coaching, like it's really important to um, reflect on your philosophical ideas as well, because the way you perceive the world influences the coaching techniques that you use or the types of exercises that you'll do with your clients. And knowing which tradition or which philosophical tradition your thinking falls in is quite helpful, because it also can help you to challenge your own ideas. Like, well, this is the way I work and this is the way I see the world, but is that actually how the world works? Because it's all a mystery and really we don't know.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, Yeah, so that philosophy, really thinking about your philosophy is important as a coach, um, and finding your own path. And you also said something like, "What is how do you find your unique way? So again, there I like taking the dream life. They are my teachers, and my heartbreaks are a teacher. The guide inside is pinpointing me, and I follow, and that of course sometimes you feel like, where am I going? Am I going in the right direction with this kind of thinking? I always feel like there's only one way to find out. Follow it and see, and maybe you come to the conclusion, no, oh, I was really off in my thinking. Let me go back. But as long as you can admit, like, hey, that wasn't working. I really felt like there was something there, and maybe there isn't. If you can admit your own, I don't know, your own limitations, that will help you in the end to find your own path.
Yeah, lovely,
Yeah.
lovely. That makes me think. I was an engineer. My first degree is engineering, and I think that talk therapy falls short in a way because it's only engaging the certain linguistic centers and the processing through that, right? Human system is much more complex. Some we see, some we touch, but some is can only be accessible through philosophies, through sounds, through lights, through colors, through imaginations and all that. So then the coaching cannot only be to change facilitation, cannot only be done through the certain linguistic centers. Then everything you're mentioning is a new linguistic way, access point for change facilitation. And that's beautiful, right?
Yeah, I agree that talking and understanding what's going on and having the rational mind have some level of grasping what's going on is really important, but it's not the entire story. It's really not the entire story. So taking the other level, the soul level or the psyche or the spiritual level, also into account. That is a dance, and when coaches or coaching practices, but also therapies, are respectful of that dance or are acknowledging that dance, better results will probably come out of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because I think that the physicality is the most inner, denser part. But there is something else in informing us. We need to keep doing the repetitive patterns or something else, right? We need to find where that is, where the coordinates of that is to facilitate the change from the source. This has been so beautiful to discuss all that with you, Akke-Jeanne. So for our audience, if they're interested in finding you, how can they find you?
Yeah, through jungplatform.com. So that is the platform that I developed with my brother. He had a dream about something and shared it, and we talked about it. And then he started building the company, and which is really lovely that we both have this interest in dreams and in Jungian psychology. But yeah, so if people just get really interested about Jung, I think we've got a really like good Jungians on the platform. But my email address can also be found there. So
sure, I will share them in the show notes. And anything else you wish our audience to know about you before we close? Or
Well,
events?
if people would like to know more about how to include the Jungian perspective in coaching, I've set up a certificate program, Jungian Coaching, that is accredited by IACTM. And what I really love there is that It attracts some people who are already familiar with coaching or therapy, but also people that are not that familiar yet, but are very familiar with Jungian psychology, but don't know what to do with all their Jungian knowledge. So there's two groups. And those when those it's almost alchemy, like when these chemicals come together, really beautiful work comes out of it. So, and there's a lot of personal and professional development throughout the program. But there's also the very important coaching skill to be with others, to listen, to recognize your own triggers, having the capacity to self-regulate and check in with your dreams as well, or your imagination, how to regulate what's going on, so that you can be in better service of your client and really partner with them. So that is the program that is a little bit like my baby. I'm super proud of it. Yeah.
It's a beautiful baby. So thank you, Akke-Jeanne. It was lovely having you here and collaborating in this discussion. So our audience, in case you missed it in the beginning, you've been tuned into Coaching with Mastery and Elegance with Tijen Genco. And this is an original podcast offering from Genco Coaching. And if you liked what you heard, consider liking us, following us, and maybe leaving us a review wherever you tuned into. Until next time, thank you for being with us.